8 clips, 8 moments caught on camera that went from ordinary nights to something no one can easily explain. Tonight, you'll see the footage, hear the reactions, and be left to decide: stage trick, optical quirk, or something else entirely. If one of these unsettles you, tell us in the comments which one, and if you've ever caught anything similar, send your footage to the email in the description. Now on with the first clip. A drain and a stare. It begins with a shaky phone held low at the edge of a roadside drain, light from a passing car sweeping across wet tarmac. The uploader, speaking quietly to friends, pans the lens toward the dark opening beneath the curb. For a few seconds there is only rain-slick concrete and the hiss of tires. Then, from the black, a shape stands up. It's humanoid, tall enough to be an adult, and for a heartbeat it seems to look straight at the camera. No movement, no wave, just a silhouette framed by the round mouth of the drain, head tilted as if hearing them speak. On screen, the friends go from nervous laughter to hurried whispering. "What the?" one says, the rest audibly tensing. Someone dials a number. They step back. Keys fumble. Light shakes over faces. The uploader returns the next day with flashlights. The drain is empty. No footprints in the surrounding mud. No sign that anyone had been inside. Police were called, they say, but no record of a person hiding there is provided in the follow-up clip. Could it be someone crouched below, dressed to blend with the night? A passerby hiding for a prank? Or does that brief, perfect stillness, the way the head angles, the way the dark seems to hold its breath, suggest something less ordinary? Look at the frame again. Local streetlight catches a shoulder, then nothing. Which seems more likely to you? If you thought that was eerie, wait for the next one. 2 women, a cozy kitchen, and a stream of small but unnerving disturbances. Their channel is light-hearted. They often film chats and baking. In this upload, they talk about housework and weekend plans when a cupboard door swings itself shut. They laugh it off, but then a framed picture on the mantel lifts, tilts, and lands face down on the carpet. Later, an unoccupied bedroom door slams so hard the house seems to flinch. The camera keeps rolling throughout, capturing their initial nonchalance, sliding into nervous glances. They mention that odd things have occurred before in other videos, objects moving, lights flickering at night. Yet their tone is strikingly flat, as if they have grown used to the interruptions. Viewers in the comments point to possible causes: poor hinges, drafts, someone off camera pulling strings. Others think the pattern, multiple uploads across weeks, similar anomalies in the same rooms, tilts towards something unexplained. There's an unsettling intimacy here. These are ordinary people in a domestic space, not thrill-seekers chasing thrills. But the footage also admits plausible alternatives. Walls shift, houses settle, nails loosen, and frames fall. Still, would those explanations account for the cadence of repeated incidents and the seemingly intelligent timing of some movements? If you were watching alone in that kitchen at night, would you chalk it up to a draft? Next, a lakeside birthday and a picture that refuses to behave. A group of friends gather for a late afternoon celebration by a quiet stretch of water. Someone takes a live photo, one of those short moments that capture motion. Then, as the uploader scrolls, a pale presence appears behind 2 women in the frozen frame. It looks childlike, smaller than the adults, featureless, slightly translucent in the still. The phone's automated face recognition fails to tag it as a person, returning no facial data where you would expect it. The birthday clip plays to a soundtrack of laughter until the photograph is shown full screen. The uploader's voice wobbles, and comments range from lens flare to double exposure glitch to someone standing behind the trees. The group swears nobody was there. The original file was not edited, they insist, and the image went viral within hours. Pareidolia is a powerful thing. Our brains are wired to find faces and figures in random patterns, reflections on water, out-of-focus light sources, even stray fingers near the lens can produce shapes that read as human. Yet when a device explicitly fails to recognize a face that your eye insists is present, it complicates the story. Do you trust the camera's algorithms more than your own perception? Or does the failure to tag amplify rather than diminish the unease? If that image left you unsettled, prepare. The next one raises the stakes. A man takes his dog out late after hearing branches snap. He films on his phone, voice low. The area is wooded. Distant houses are dark. He mentions earlier oddities in the neighborhood. Lights cutting out, a neighbor's security camera picking up something moving at dawn. Tonight, he has brought the dog and, he says in the clip, something to keep me honest. The camera catches the dog's rigid stance, low growl in the throat. In the beam of the torch, a shadow moves between trees, then freezes as if watching. When the man nudges forward, the figure retreats into deeper dark. A minute later, the uploader walks back down a nearby lane and finds a sapling snapped clean through. No sign of a storm. The power to a row of houses is briefly off that same night, a detail he mentions in a later clip. Some viewers suspect an animal, foxes and badgers, can make odd noises and break small branches. Others point to trickery, someone staging a silhouette with clothing or a mounted mannequin. The uploader's dog, however, behaves in ways that many owners recognize. Hair up, low barks, refusal to approach a zone it previously trotted through without hesitation. Animals are attuned to sounds and smells beyond human detection, but they also react to things we cannot see because of natural causes. Does a pet's fear make the footage more convincing, or merely more poignant? Pause and ask yourself, would you trust the dog's instinct over a stranger's staged prank? The middle of our countdown brings a thread that refuses to stop. Tristan is a creator with a history online, clips of glasses sliding on their own, doors that creak open when no one else is home, chairs left askew. In his latest post, he moves into a new flat hoping for a fresh start. Within days, the same pattern returns. Knocks at impossible hours, cupboard doors swinging as if someone passed through, camera footage that shows a handle moving without visible cause. One clip, captured in the quiet of the night, shows a chair sliding several inches across a floor while the camera is aimed elsewhere. The uploader turns the camera with a jolt, and the chair is where it was not moments before. Tristan posts follow-ups, where he sets up recording in multiple rooms. The playback shows subtle, almost coy interactions with objects. A cup lifted slightly as if nudged. A faint outline running along a hallway wall, just outside the range of the light. A muffled rap that seems to travel from room to room. Skeptics online cry, cut, point to obvious edits, camera re-angles, and the potential for clever staging. Supporters say the repetition, across different homes and times, argues against a one-off hoax. This is the most unnerving set because it is persistent. It isn't a single glitch, it's a pattern that invades daily life. If it were merely one isolated moment, you might chalk it up to editing or an overactive imagination. But when the same cadence of disturbances follows the same person, what are the odds it's all manufactured without detection? Do you side with the editors and their scissors, or with the viewers who believe something attached itself to Tristan's spaces? And more importantly, how would you react if your home began whispering back? If you believed that was the peak, hold on. There are 2 more to come that will keep you up tonight. A young mother shares a clip of her toddler on a garden slide, playing as usual. The child giggles, holding an invisible conversation at the top of the ladder, hand movements, head nods. The mother, filming, captions the clip light-heartedly. She's got a new friend. For most of the short video, the child seems carefree, but in the final seconds, she freezes. Eyes fix on a point between the bushes, cheeks draining of color. She pleads with a voice too small for the moment, "Mummy, him take my turn." then scrambles off the slide, breathless and shaken. Cameras catch children interacting with invisible companions all the time. Many kids have imaginary friends and rich inner lives. The uploader is careful in follow-up, explicitly avoiding any spiritual claims. There are no dramatic possessions, no rites or rituals. Simply a child who suddenly expresses fear about an unseen playmate.
Medical or psychological commentary is absent. The family's later posts show normal, cheerful behavior. When a child's world crosses into fear, however brief, it touches something primal in us.
Is this an imaginary playmate who briefly frightened her? Could it be a reflection, a noise from the hedgerow that her small frame interpreted as another child? Or do you allow the possibility that a child's sensitivity has picked up on something adults miss? Which explanation makes you sleep easier tonight? Now, the sequence tightens again, with a clip that divided the comment sections more than any other. A hiker called Rachel comes across a rusted hatch on the edge of a disused quarry. She films before approaching. The metal door is half buried, its rim smeared with moisture and old moss. As she pries at the latch, the camera catches what looks like a pale, face-like shape reflected in the shallow pooling of water inside. An oval, two darker points where eyes might be, and a suggestion of a mouth that could be shadow, could be rust pattern, could be a trick of light. Her party hesitates. Someone jokes about descending. Others say not a chance. The uploader pans away and closes the clip, adding a caption that she stayed put and left the hatch sealed. No follow-up footage is posted. Viewers argue pareidolia, echoing the human tendency to make faces out of random shapes. Others, unsettled by the notion of something literally looking back up through the earth, call it a cold, uncanny moment. Pareidolia explains a lot of things. A rust stain, a pool of rain, the angle of the sun, each can conspire to form the suggestion of eyes. Yet the visceral reaction, an automatic recoil when you sense a face watching you, is universal. Was Rachel looking at an inanimate trick of nature, or was there truly something within that hatch that registered as sentient? And if it was nothing, why does your chest tighten reading about someone else's brief glance into underground blackness? If you're breathing differently now, the final clip may not help. A lone camper arrives at dusk, dog at his heels. He films by a small campfire, the kind that throws comforting orange across sleeping bag canvases. The dog refuses to settle, ears pricked, low growls that rise and fall. Then, deeper in the trees, a small point of light appears. At first, it could be a reflection on a leaf, a distant lantern, or a flashlight. But the light doesn't move like a handheld beam. It pulses, rounds itself, and seems to float between trunks in a way the cameraman's torch does not. He pans, the dog pulls at the lead, and when he zooms in, the orb brightens, then vanishes, as if swallowed by the dark. In the morning, they find no footprints, no discarded lanterns, and the soil where the orb hovered shows no sign of campfire smoke or camp equipment. The uploader's later comments note that the dog behaved like he had seen something real. For many viewers, animals act as an index of the inexplicable. A pet's unease lends weight to a claim. Others counter that nocturnal animals' reflective eyes, insects catching light, or drifting moths can create unnatural glows that look sinister on phone cameras. A floating orb in the woods. Atmospheric, unsettling but hardly definitive. Still, the fact that the dog refused to return to that tree line and the uploader altered his route home makes the clip linger in the mind. Do you trust animal instinct as corroboration, or do you prefer the natural explanations, bugs, lens flares, curious reflections that can mimic something more uncanny? We've watched ordinary places turn strange. A drain, a kitchen, a lakeside snapshot, a breaking of branches, a child's sudden fear, a creator's persistent disturbances, a hatch that seems to stare, and a glowing visitor in the trees. Each clip leaves gaps. A lack of follow-up, a missing witness, a failure of the camera to capture everything. That silence is part of what makes them mind-blowing. Viral attention often amplifies mystery rather than resolving it. Throughout, the sensible caveats remain. None of these videos, taken alone, constitutes proof. Each could have an earthly explanation: poor lighting, lens artifacts, editing, pranksters, animals, or the brain's habit of finding patterns that comfort or alarm. Equally, patterns of repeated disturbance, corroborating animal behavior, and the raw reactions of uploaders make it hard to dismiss every clip as a fabrication. The truth, as often, sits somewhere in between. So which of these 8 unsettled you most? Was it the figure in the drain, the domestic motions of the poltergeist-like house, the pale child in the lakeside photo, the shadow catcher in the woods, the terrified toddler who gave up her slide, Tristan's repetitive hauntings across homes, Rachel's hatch with a staring stain, or the orb that made a dog refuse to return? Tell us in the comments which clip you can't stop thinking about. And if you've filmed anything that belongs in a future compilation, send your footage to the email in the description. If you found this compilation compelling, like and subscribe for more investigations into the uncanny, and keep those submissions coming. Which of these would you not want outside your window at midnight?